Welcome to TheoTrade. This is Don Kaufman. Here we are, October 19th, 2016, the Theo night video. Market's still got about 14 minutes left to play in the period here with the S&Ps up about 850. One of the things that really stands out to me today is the fact that volume is completely and utterly anemic out there with 822,000 contracts. I mean, there's days where you come in pre-market and see 500,000 contracts. Here we have 823,000 contracts. The levels that we've been mentioning kind of day in and day out now for months. And again, what levels am I referencing? Well, I'll give you a quick reference point once again of those levels, which again happen to be 2153, 2143, okay, 2129, and down below over here 2112. Again, I'll now zoom in. All we're doing on a day-to-day basis is bouncing from level to level. Each day when you walk in, it's a binary event, which means it's ultimately a coin flip, right? Here we are this morning trading at 21.29. We came right up to about 21.43. We backed off it. It wouldn't surprise me if we just migrated slightly higher to that by today's close. Nevertheless, keep in mind tomorrow morning, that is Thursday morning, there happens to be an ECB announcement. That's the European Central Bank, headed by none other than Mario Draghi. So we're going to get some news out tomorrow morning, which could rock markets. Okay, bond markets, you'll notice they're flat in today's trade, also seeing very, very light volume ahead of the ECB announcement. Now, more importantly, I did a few trades today, and we're going to go take a look at some of those trades. So let's cruise over to where I did a trade in EWZ and discuss this trade in a bit more detail this evening. So EWZ is trading right now at about 37.30. It's down 6 cents on the trading day. Take a quick glance over at the chart here. ECB, all right, and this is a 9-month chart, has actually moved from 17 to 37. Again, on a percentage basis, a fairly phenomenal move to the upside. But more importantly, for just a moment, I want to zoom in on some of the most recent trade, and specifically the most recent month, where the underlying has now moved, okay, in, again, just about 30 days out there, from roughly $32 to almost $38. So we're looking at, again, a statistical move. It's $6. And when I say a statistical move, it's significant. Now, let's define how significant, because I'm kind of setting up a trade here. And specifically, I'm going to be setting up a contrarian trade inside of EWZ. And again, EWZ, it's the Brazilian ETF. Again, trades from $32 all the way to $38. You go, all right, that sounds pretty good. What do you mean by statistically significant? Well, for that, we'll cruise over to the trade tab here on thinkorswim and explain a little bit about what that significance happens to be. You know, in a typical, if you will, 30-day window, and I'm going to highlight right now the 30-day options. In that typical 30-day window, an expected move would be around plus or minus $2.68. Now, that's what we call, quote unquote, a normal move. Okay, what have we done again in about the last 30 days? Is over double that. Okay, so right off the bat here, we see that we're statistically stretched in terms of the expected move. So what I do is I set up a bit of a bearish trade. But in addition to that, there's a number of pieces of criteria before I just run out and, you know, fire off a bearish trade. What are some of the other pieces of criteria? All right, first of all, I use a scan for this. It's got to be within 2% of the 252 period high. That's basically 2%, okay, of the 1-year high, 252 period. There's 252 trading days inside of a year. So I'm asking the scanner to find 2% of ultimately a 1-year high. In addition to it, all right, the price change is at least 3% greater than the previous 10 days. On top of it, does not have earnings anytime in the next 35 days. Does not have earnings. Clearly, it's EWZ. It's an ETF. We ultimately hit scan, and within a few seconds, okay, EWZ comes up. Now, again, after EWZ comes up in here. Then I go look at things like expected move. Then I go on top of it, take a look at the chart and say, well, it moved 2 times its expected move and it fits all my other criteria. Now, if you're not too much into the statistical, means of arriving at this trade, well, then I have another means for you. Let's go and take a look at what's called the Theo RSI. This is the RSI Laguerre. Okay, we're going to zoom in, all right, specifically right here. It has been in complete and utter overbought territory for, again, to say a substantial amount of time is kind of an understatement here, but we're going on almost a month of overbought territory. Now, when you get something like an RSI that's just pegged at overbought, listen, the stock can continue higher. But down below over here, we have the fractal energy indicating that the move is all but over. So however you want to arrive, at the idea of putting on a contrarian trade, again, I'm a quant. I don't really look at the RSI, the fractal energy, but I figured I'd point it out. I look at statistical moves and I say, all right, this thing's about due to come in over here, given the fact that it's about 2.5 times its normal expected move. It's exploding 3%. In the last 10 trading days, it's within, again, 2% of a 250, day high out there. Again, all of those factors really are what evolve into a trade for me. So then you've actually got to build the strategy. I decided to select the 37-day options. Now, frankly, I routed trades in the 30-day options and I routed trades in the 37-day options just to see where I was going to get a bit of a better fill. In this particular case, I got a good fill out here, and what I'll build in this case is what they call an in-out spread. And again, this in-out spread, I'm going to buy the 38 halves, I'm going to sell the 36 halves. All right. Again, I am buying the spread. Right now, it's trading for about $1 debit. How much risk do I have? $1. It is a debit spread. And people, well, I always like to sell. You wouldn't want to sell in here. And there's no argument that you can make to want to sell in here. Why do I say that? If you open up the option statistics, it's one of the lowest implied volatility climates that EWZ has seen in the entire last year, right? It's at the 3rd percentile down there. Speaking of which, it also traded 106,000 contracts today, which is pretty much double the norm versus the previous 5 days. So again, a fairly simple, fairly straightforward trade. This trade, I go out there, I define my risk. Why do I do that? You know what? I'm stepping in the way of a freight train over here. I don't know about you, but I like it. I mean, things in overbought territory. Listen, this is not like a bearish bet on Brazil. This is a short-term statistical move onto which I'm looking for the stock to back off a couple of bucks. Stock backs off a couple of bucks, we'll make our 55, 65%. We'll get the heck out of this trade. We'll make a couple of bucks on it. Hopefully that's the way it plays out. Now, we've had some winners. We've had some losers inside of EWZ. In this particular case, I think it's got a nice setup. And if you're into the technicals, those are there too. Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining us here at TheoTrade. Enjoy the evening. Bye-bye.